New York City, 1971. The bustling streets filled with life and energy. But behind the charm of this city lies a darkness, one that hides among us, wearing a mask of normalcy. This is the story of Theodore Robert Bundy, a man who charmed, deceived, and murdered. A man who left a trail of terror across America. This is the story of Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. From the very beginning, his life was shrouded in secrets. Raised by his grandparents under the belief that they were his parents and that his biological mother was his sister, Bundy grew up amidst lies, a pattern that would define his entire life. A bright, seemingly ordinary boy, Ted excelled academically and was well liked by those around him. But beneath this facade lay a dark void. Even as a teenager, Bundy exhibited disturbing behaviors. Petty thefts, voyeurism, and an obsession with dominance, but no one could have imagined the horrors that were yet to come. In the early 1970s, Bundy moved to Seattle, Washington to attend university. It was here that he began to hone his skills, not as a scholar, but as a predator. Bundy's first known attack occurred in 1974. Young women began disappearing without a trace in the Pacific Northwest. The pattern was chilling. Brunette women, often students, lured by a man feigning injury or asking for help. Ted Bundy was the perfect con artist. Charismatic, intelligent, and manipulative. He exploited trust, turning it into a weapon. By the mid-1970s, he had murdered women across Washington, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, and Idaho. His methods were as horrifying as they were calculated. Victims were often lured into his car, where Bundy overpowered them, and later, their lifeless bodies were discarded in remote locations. Some victims were never found. Bundy's charm made him invisible to suspicion, allowing him to elude law enforcement for years. In 1975, Ted Bundy was arrested for the first time in Utah for attempted kidnapping. For many, it seemed the nightmare was over. But Bundy wasn't done. In 1977, while awaiting trial in Colorado, Bundy escaped custody, not once, but twice. In one escape, he even lost 30 pounds to fit through a small ceiling opening. His second escape was far deadlier. Fleeing to Florida, Bundy would commit some of his most heinous crimes. On the night of January 15, 1978, at approximately 2:45 a.m., Ted Bundy entered the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida. Over the course of just 15 minutes, Bundy carried out a violent series of attacks, leaving behind a devastating scene. 4 young women were targeted, 2 tragically lost their lives, and 2 others survived. Margaret Bowman, 21 years old. Margaret was attacked while she slept in her room. She did not survive, becoming the first victim of the night. 2 Lisa Levy, 20 years old. Lisa was also asleep during the attack. She sustained fatal injuries and passed away at the scene. Karen Chandler, survivor. Karen was severely injured during the attack but managed to survive after receiving urgent medical care. Kathy sustained significant injuries to her face and jaw, but survived when Bundy unexpectedly left her room before the attack could continue further. This brief but brutal incident left the Chi Omega house and the surrounding community in shock, marking one of the most notorious events in Ted Bundy's criminal history. The survivors' resilience and courage would later play a significant role in helping authorities understand and ultimately bring Bundy to justice. The violence didn't stop there. Days later, he abducted and murdered a 12-year-old girl, Kimberly Leach. This would be his final known victim. In February 1978, Ted Bundy was finally arrested in Pensacola, Florida. But Bundy's trial was unlike anything America had seen before. Charming, articulate, and representing himself in court, Bundy turned his trial into a spectacle. Women even flocked to the courtroom, captivated by his charisma, but no amount of charm could hide the truth. Ted Bundy was convicted and sentenced to death in 1979 for the murders of the Chi Omega sorority sisters. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in Florida's electric chair. His final moments were marked by the absence of remorse. Even in his last interviews, Bundy sought to manipulate, blaming pornography for his crimes. The world breathed a sigh of relief, but the scars he left remain. Ted Bundy's story is a haunting reminder of the monsters hiding in plain sight. He wasn't a faceless killer. He was a trusted friend, a promising law student, and even a political campaign worker. But behind the mask was a predator, a man who took joy in destruction. Ted Bundy's name will forever be etched in history, not as a man of charm, but as a symbol of evil. The lessons he left us are clear. Trust can be a weapon, and true evil often hides in plain sight.